Okay, see it.
So today we are going to the Buckingham Palace. But before we do that, we're gonna have to feed Hayley some milk. And while we're feeding her some milk, I'm going to share with you how not to be the dumb money. So a lot of people have been saying smart money is coming in. Why should we be the dumb money? Right? So in this episode, I'll be covering that. So the very first point about not being the dumb money, I think we were very, very excited, or why we were the dumb money previously, because we were very excited. We didn't know how to assess a crypto related project or a blockchain related project. I think to be very specific, a blockchain related project. Were they really building on the blockchain? Also, why were we so caught up with the whole Ethereum hype? Were all these partnerships that were declared during that time?
Yeah. Hi guys. Hi.
So all these sorry, let me feed her the milk first.
Because she's a little hungry, yeah.
So all these projects that we were so excited to step into, the moment Ethereum's price started to rise exponentially and very quickly, we were very, especially those who couldn't afford Ethereum after it hit above $50, right? Everybody was trying to buy Ethereum or at least they didn't even realize what Ethereum was, right? There were those who were in the developer community that were very familiar. They were obviously early ICO investors. To be fair, they understood it, right, to a certain extent. Then the whole community was just grown organically. Vitalik already gained the respect from all his time writing articles, I think on BTC, on Bitcoin Magazine, and then, or is it one of those Bitcoin magazines? I can't really remember, so correct me if I'm wrong. But after that, because of his popularity and of course his working with under the Bitcoin network, he branched out and created Ethereum on his own. So that's when there was the very first ICO where it wasn't like done like publicly in a way. It was done publicly, but it was done in such a way that it was a very close group kind of thing. So they raised enough money to push the project forward. Suddenly, after 2 years, right? After 1 year, I think they finally launched the mainnet for Ethereum, and then after that, there were miners who started supporting the network, and then the whole EE, right? Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, EEA, started to take notice. Everybody, suddenly you had the Morgan Stanley, you had all the various Bank of America, all the big institutions, right, started to come in, and Microsoft started to take notice of Ethereum, and that's when the whole blockchain space blew up, right? And those who got in, especially when I was in since 2016, when Ethereum was what, $7 to $9, that was when the DAO hack happened in late 2016. It was up, and then after it went from $12, it went back down to $7 because of the DAO hack. Okay, then the whole space erupted. Literally, there was so much money flowing in that you just couldn't lose, right? So we became complacent. We thought that every project based on certain types of hype, okay, certain types of hype, like a roadmap announcement, some kind of a simple MOU partnership, yeah, and basically nothing tangible. Basically nothing tangible would move the price. And what we realized very much later was that, very simple, these projects engage market makers to work and coordinate their price movement when they announce a particular piece of news that was usually very insignificant. Because As of now, until now, most of these projects that had those price movements do not have a product. They are still work in progress. Okay, and the market right now has really punished investors. Also, at the same time, as the price of Ethereum continues to drop and plummet, you're gonna see a lot of projects also start to get very concerned. And yeah, I think there was this article, an Excel spreadsheet that was showing the amount of Ethereum that was that most companies are still holding that Ethereum in hopes that there's gonna be some kind of price recovery. Because after all, although you may pay your bonuses and everything in Ethereum, okay, but at the end of the day, you're still gonna have to pay your developers, your operation managers, your marketing, your guys basically still in fiat. Let's be very honest, okay? They have to feed their families. You have to have bills to pay. They all have mortgages to pay. You have rental to pay, and I'm sure your landlord doesn't accept your token. Okay, so that's what's been happening. And as the price continues to drop, and I strongly believe that it will continue to drop. You're just experiencing of late a little bit of a recovery because people feel that okay, close to 150, it's dropped significantly enough. We short Ethereum at $288. We rode it down all the way. I think that's a very, very good play. After that, it started to recover back. So we had this very nice 15% recovery, but we only anticipate more downside because any chance that the projects get to sell off their Ethereum, they will do so. It's just the facts, okay? So now, for us as investors, okay, especially for you right now watching this for the very first time, you've never invested in an ICO, I think it's good because as long as you start asking the right questions. Now, these days community, being part of a crypto community, a part of an ICO project honestly means very little because these days they are all full of marketers. They're all full of marketers, and these marketers are very smart in the way they answer questions compared to the community managers that I knew at that time, where they were very sincere. They really wanted to drive the project forward, also at the same time help the community grow. These days, you ask a very sensitive question about the finances and progress, you usually get banned or you get some kind of dodgy answer. So what does that leave us? Very simple. Don't invest in ICOs. Right? Because it is still a big boys game. When you are not having the ample liquidity or the ample information to put your money into a project, why do you do that? Why would you put your money into a project? It makes no sense, right? It makes no sense. You are literally stepping into the lion's den and offering yourself to the lion, right? And the lion is hungry, but you chose to walk in to the you chose to walk into the lion's den, and you willingly gave up your money just because you thought that it would be the next big thing because you heard of some convincing marketing material, or you feel that there's some advisor or VC capital group behind it. Don't be so willing to part with your money. The second thing, ask for an MVP. Now, an MVP can come in two forms. One, an actual physical product. Two, it could be already a beta. I would advise a beta product already. Now, most projects these days, especially the newer ICOs, are very, very smart. They would have already found the funding. Don't mind the kettle. So they would have already found the funding to before they would have the smart ones these days, especially those who are raising ICOs, would at least have the MVPs up already. Okay. Then from then they can confidently go out there and start raising money. Okay, I wouldn't dare to raise, I wouldn't dare to raise money without an MVP these days. Okay, now that being said, after you see that they do have an MVP, we ask ourselves, what are the chances of this MVP actually having enough adoption? Okay, that's the keyword, adoption. And then from then we kind of reference it to existing projects that are doing the same. Because right now we have so many projects that I'm sure that we have some leaders already. Okay, we benchmark against these leaders, and we can even benchmark against pre-existing companies that have already that are already listed on stock exchanges and see how are they doing. How long did they take to build the business? Then we kind of gauge a little bit. Okay, so adoption. Fourth, revenue. Now this is the hardest thing to do, to actually have revenue, because it doesn't mean that you have profit. It doesn't matter. But the fact that their product is being sold already means that it is a big deal. Now, there are a few projects that have done that successfully, and usually those are just the centralized exchanges. Right now, from what I understand, Steemit probably has a decent revenue coming in for some reason. But I don't think that there is real revenue at the moment. I would say that they have organic growth. They have an effect. They have people contributing content, but I don't think they have revenue, because you must understand that you have to attract a corporation to want to invest, put in money to start maybe putting in some advertising dollars onto the platform, and the whole system will come collapsing down on itself, because a lot of the cryptocurrencies are pegged against BTC. Of course, you can peg your cryptocurrency against USDT or True USD or in the future Gemini dollars or whatever. But revenue is important. I don't see much of that, right? I really don't see much of that. So once there are going to be projects that have revenue, usually, obviously, the valuation of the token is already much more. But you don't have so it's hard to find, but try to find those. Then fifth, we talk about transparency, and transparency also results in accountability. If a project is not transparent and accountable with the way they raise their funds, it is a red flag, and you should avoid that company as much as possible, regardless of whatever they say. You don't have to FOMO into anything in this space. All right. So when they say that, I would like for them to have a clause, which is in the event that they fail to deliver on certain points, they will be willing to refund the money back to its investors. If I do not see that clause, my money is not in. Simple as that. So I hope that these 5 steps helped you out. And don't forget that the Premier Group will be opening tomorrow on the 15th, where you can start registering. That's where we really open our doors for the last time this year. And after that, we will be closing the group for registration, because we want to focus on the existing core team, right, and the core members, to really help them to learn how to do proper portfolio management. And of course, when I say portfolio management, means that managing risks, also learning how to trade effectively, and having the right allocations into the respective cryptocurrencies. So this is kind of like where we're at the moment, helping our core members define this space to the T, so that they don't repeat and make those mistakes. Now, if you're someone who's new, you're very fresh to the space, perhaps this is the group for you. We do have trading setups and signals as per se, but that's not our forte. Our forte is literally investing and creating a portfolio. We are holistic in our approach, and we bring in information that this space does not always have, because of the level of professionalism that CG has already formed through the years that we've been investing in crypto, right? So that being said, as I mentioned, the last month to get into the CG Premier Group is this month. Our forms were closed on the 30th of September. And if you would like to get the forms, don't forget to approach our friendly admin, Brian, or email us at info@cryptogrinders.com. I'll see you in the next video, guys.